Good evening. I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world tonight.
I think you're all fucked in the head. We're 10 hours from the fucking fun park, and you want to bail out. Well, I'll tell you something. This is no longer a vacation. It's a quest. It's a quest for fun. I'm going to have fun, and you're going to have fun. We're all going to have so much fucking fun we'll need plastic surgery to remove our goddamn smiles. You'll be whistling Zippity-Doo-Dah out of your assholes. I gotta be crazy. I'm on a pilgrimage to see a moose. Praise Marty Moose!
The next handful of minutes, believe it or not, are brought to you by Grapplex. Grapplex, it won't come undone. Or it will. Whatever's sexier.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 69-minute Eargasm. My name is Grant Fletcher. I produce this thing, and with me, as always, is the host of this shindig, the quintessential stud muffin, Joel Gertner. Joel, how's it going?
Hey, it's going great. How's it going for you?
Pretty well. My voice is starting to come back from last week whenever I was sick.
Yeah, you do sound a little bit more professional than you did in our last episode.
Yeah, that was super, super uncool of me. What I'll do is I'll make sure I'll get the flu the day after we record next time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You have, if you're going to get the flu, absolutely do it when you're not in any way, shape, or form inextricably linked in a kind of vocal or verbal way to this show, because then you're just then you're on my time. You know what I mean? You're
right. What I'll do is I'll just hang out in the background next time, and I'll just let you take it there. But I'm on the mend now. I'm just about done. How about yourself, though? You were a little under the weather last week, too.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Some sort of sinus something, but I think I'm okay. Yeah, as promised, I wasn't all that bad last week. Somebody needed to be manning the ship. Somebody needed to man up and kind of just watch the fort, you know what I mean? And that obviously was me. I mean, who would you expect of the two of us to be the go-to for that? And yeah, of course, this week, I'm feeling even better, bigger, stronger, like I could last even longer. And oh yeah, man. And how about our guest for this week? Are we going to let people in yet, or are we going to do a little bit more banter, a little bit more gaga, a little bit more housekeeping, and then let them know? Because this week we've got one hell of a hot guest for everybody.
Sucka's guts to know about our guest this week. That's, I think we should just go ahead and start talking about our guest. Yeah.
I can dig that. Yeah, man. So Patreon drop for this is what? Friday, March 15, right?
Yeah. Friday, Saturday. Yeah.
All right. So let's use Friday, March 15, which is actually the day after we're recording this. Okay? Friday, March 15, 4 days earlier, Harlem Heat was announced to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. 4 days prior to that, 1 week ago as of this recording, so last Thursday night, the 7th, and again, just 4 days before news broke that Harlem Heat was going into the WWE Hall of Fame, we sat down with, I don't know that he was sitting down. I mean, he might have been standing. I wasn't there. I don't know. I wasn't in Houston. But what I can tell you is that we interviewed Stevie Ray, and it was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, even over, the internet or over the phone or whatever, the man is just larger than life. That's there's no two ways about that.
Yeah, he's for sure a character, for sure outspoken, has views that, honestly, most of them I either agreed with organically or I could see why he felt the way he did. But he's a great talker, a great thinker, a great mind. And like I said, it really was one hell of an interview.
Yeah, I couldn't really said it better myself. And, one thing I can say about this interview that's really awesome is Stevie Ray is a guy who is, he's very deliberate in everything he says. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like he puts so much thought into everything he says before it even leaves his mouth. And it ends up just being a great conversation, in addition to him, the guy being a legend in the ring, and a great entertainer, and someone that, 90s wrestling fans especially are very familiar with. He's just fun to listen to and fun to talk to.
Yeah, it was a really fun interview. As informative as it was just as entertaining. It was a whole lot of fun. It was fun for me even doing the interview. These podcasts, they never really do feel like work, or else I don't think we would do them. But yet and still, it didn't feel like work in the least, and it flowed. And he's actually the only guest this week, and that doesn't happen more often than not. More often than not, we'll have two different guests go for about 30 to 45 minutes each. But the conversation with Stevie Ray just flowed so well that we kind of all lost track of time.
and he wound up doing well over an hour just himself.
Yeah, of course, I don't know why we're sitting here telling people about this. I mean, they already should know. I mean, they already should have heard this episode of this podcast if they were on our Patreon. If they were Patreon subscribers, they'd already know all of this.
Yeah, and if you're not a Patreon subscriber, I'd like to think that even though he's got less skin in this particular game than me and Grant do, because he's got his own project, Shooting Straight, he's launching his own, he's doing radio stuff, podcast stuff, he's got a Twitch channel, so he's got his own projects, and he's going to let you know about that again in the interview. But I'd like to think that even Stevie Ray would say that if you don't have Patreon yet for the 69-minute eargasm, he's coming for you. You know what I mean? But yeah, on a serious note, get the Patreon, man. Everybody that's listening, $3, $6, $9.
There's good stuff for all levels there. You know, patreon.com/69minute eargasm. Of course, you could also hear all about this too if you're going to be following Joel on Twitter or following myself on Twitter at Stud Muffin Says or at Grant L. Fletcher.
If you're listening to the show for a handful of shekels, it's like just listen earlier and listen to a cleaner, more VIP, more streamlined. Just get all the digs, man. Get the like associate or assistant producer shout out that we're gonna do. Like, just keep the thing afloat, man. We'll shout you out. What you got going on? We'll let people know.
Yeah, it's exclusive. It's cool. But
get the bonus episode. Get the bonus episode. Even though most of the bonus episode's likely going to be just me and Grant chopping it up, talking about wrestling, talking about what's going on in the news, maybe politics. Maybe we'll have a little fun, a little entertainment, pop culture. It's so worth it.
Yeah, I mean, we could go on and on and on here about the Patreon page, but I think, we've left our listeners here waiting long enough. What do you think?
I absolutely think that's the case. I hope you guys enjoy, because this really is, I think, one of the better interviews that we've done. One of our, just a guest man that honestly, as much as I thought I knew what to expect, and as much as I really did set the bar high, and going in, I did say to myself, this has the potential to be maybe one of our best shows. But coming out of it, after having listened to it, I really think, man, this is audio gold. This is a lot of fun. This is a wrestling fans show. But you're going to hear so much more than just wrestling. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. And I really do hope everybody enjoys it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, give it up for Stevie Ray.
And well, we are back with more 69-minute eargasms than you even knew you cared for, and you had no idea how much you cared until you've heard episode after episode of solid audio gold, and it does not stop. It never stops, because we have for you this week our guest, and it is an honor, a pleasure, and a privilege to have a legend and a stalwart of the game, a man who needs no introduction, but because my shtick is to introduce, of course he'll get one anyway. This man is a WCW television champion, a 10-time WCW tag team champion. This man, part of a tag team, I think, PWI, back-to-back, 1995, I think 1996, Tag Team of the Year worldwide in wrestling. A headline talent for Fall Brawl 93. A headline talent for Fall Brawl 1998. Again, a name that stands out among standouts. It is our honor to have this week Stevie Ray. Stevie Ray, how are you doing?
Hey man, I'm doing good, man. I'm glad you guys had me on, and I want to see what this podcast is about. Because I actually have come to a conclusion with myself to do no more internet radio shows and no more podcasts. But tonight I'm going to make an exception, and I got my legion of followers on Facebook checking you out. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate
that. Got to make that happen, man. And
I believe that. Thank you, Stevie Ray.
It's all good. We'll fill them in on who you are. I like to give them all your information and stuff when I'm finished, and people can go and check you out.
Just the quintessential Sub Muffin, just the sexual intellectual, the cunning linguist, just that. On top of that, our show is real simple. When I like to keep it real, concise, and trite, I say it's kind of like maybe a wrestling version of like Howard Stern in the 80s, 90s, whatever, kind of just and just for fun, for laughs. When I like to keep it lengthy and verbose, I let it be known that what the show actually is it's like that night in LA when Andy Kaufman and Chuck Barris watched Tuesday Night Titans and then turned off the TV, got it on with one lucky lady who gave birth to an entity. She did not know if it was Andy. She did not know if it was Chuck. It was the 69-minute eargasm, my friend.
Oh, I was not aware of that.
Neither was I until a couple minutes ago.
I wasn't aware of that.
That was like it could
I never heard that one before.
That pays the bills depending on how you measure, you know what I mean? As long as you don't got a yacht payment included in the portfolio, I guess it pays a bill or two. Stevie Ray, man, it's not what can we talk about. It's because we had a kind of pre-interview, like we spoke for an hour earlier in the week, and I'm realizing now that it's not what do we talk about. It's like what's going to make the cut. Like, because honestly, what could we not talk about? Because I had an idea that you might be as diverse and diversified and as prolific and have many different interests, hobbies, and a lot of knowledge and wisdom. Of course I had that idea. People are always surprised how people in the wrestling business they think might not be that way. And really, my experience, 98 out of 100 of us are. So I wasn't taken aback by it. But I was saying to myself, like, just for a podcast, like, are we going to be able to get it all in? What I want to make sure does get in, because I ask this of everybody, because I find that it's quite often the most important and most interesting part of a person's story and their journey in wrestling and even beyond wrestling. It's the beginning. Our right now varies. One person's present, their current, is different than another's. And your future is largely up to you, but of course everybody's future is going to be different as well. Everybody shares, though, that they do have a beginning. And everybody that I've interviewed so far, it's so interesting. And I figure I'll ask, because I know you've been in the game doing this thing for decades. I mean, I can trace you back. I used to come home from high school, throw on ESPN, watch Global. I'm one of them. I'm up here in Brooklyn. You guys were in Dallas. You're in Texas now. You're in Texas, and I get it. One side of the country to the other. But thanks to ESPN, it was just a click away. And I'm one of those, like, global wrestling latchkey kids where I used to love to see people like you and your brother. I used to love to see 1-2-3 Kid, Lightning Kid there. I used to love to see Jerry Lynn. Used to love to see everybody that was on Global. That was how I celebrated being home from school and the bullshit part of the day being over. So let me ask you, I know you go back to 89. You could go back even before that, because I know a lot of the time, just because you're not on TV, you know what? I'm going to cut it short. I'm going to leave it with you, whether it's 89 or whether it's a year or two back from that. And let us know also if you, growing up as a kid, was wrestling something you watched? When did you know you might pursue it? Please take the ball and run with it from there.
No. Wrestling was always in my household. As long as I can remember, man. I can remember watching professional wrestling. I think my grandmother got me into watching professional wrestling, man. Her favorite wrestler was Cowboy Bill Watts. And I just remember when Cowboy Bill Watts was a big baby face in Shreveport, Louisiana, where my grandmother lived. And I remember, hey, she was really excited when he came on. And at the end of the day, that's what really got me into it, my whole family. You kind of follow what your parents grandparents did back in those days. So I've been a big fan since I was a little bitty boy, man. Little bitty boy. And I got a chance to get in the business back in 1989. That part is true. And matter of fact, I had some guy from newspaper today called me and asked me that very same question. And I'll tell you exactly what I told him. Is that wrestling was just something that came around, and somebody was opening up a wrestling school, and I was like, okay, I'll check it out, man. I never thought I would ever be a professional and it'd take me places all over the world, but I just wanted to check it out, man. And if I could have been the best local wrestler in the world, that would have been cool with me. But as we all know, it went further than that.
Now, Stevie Ray, so from Global, you went straight to WCW, right?
Yes.
And you're there with your brother, you're part of a tag team. What would you say, I mean, it's an obvious question, but what would you say was the 2 or 3 most pronounced differences from, I mean, as an employee, as a fan, we get it. WCW is bigger. We get it. The production is slicker. Like, it sounds like such an obvious question, but we get it, but we don't get it because we were watching you in the one place, then we're watching you in the other place, but you were in Dallas, and then you were working for Atlanta and going worldwide with WCW. The obviouses are obvious, but what could you tell one of our listeners about 2 or 3 of the most pronounced differences between the 2 offices, between the 2 locker rooms, just the environment of being an employee for both companies?
Well, you're going up a level when you go into WCW. As far as the only thing is, you was working more frequent. You have to realize when we were in Global, we worked with some of the best workers in the business. We worked with a lot of top. That was one thing that really trained us, and that's something that a lot of guys don't go through these days. We trained with the Black Barts, the Johnny Mantels, the Manny Fernandez, the Killer Tim Brooks, the Iceman King Parsons, and his partner. All these guys were top guys in the business at one time or another. So as far as level of competition, man, really was none, because the guys in Global, to me, were just as good as anybody. Only thing is, when you get to like WCW, thing that was different is that you're traveling all the time. Everything went up a notch. You're on the road a lot, and you're working more. That's as far as locker rooms. Who gives a shit about a locker room? It's just guys in a fucking locker room. Who gives a shit about that? I don't. I come to work to do my thing. I don't come to work to, see who's in the dressing room, because I really could care less. And at the end of the day, it's just a job. And I was trained to do a job, and when I'm trained to do a job, I try to do the job, and I try to do the job as best I can do it. It's that simple.
Now, aside from wrestling, and again, we were talking earlier in the week, you and I, but what are some of your main hobbies? I know you were talking about boxing, so definitely get that in. But on top of boxing, talk about that, but like what, aside from wrestling, because, a big part of our conversation the other day was that, neither you nor I nor anybody who's in the business who's a, versatile performer, on their feet, improv level entertainer, you have to have, a level of, you have to be diverse, and you have to be able to shift on the fly, everything like that. Talk about boxing for sure, because I was impressed, with your level of boxing acumen. I remember you telling me how you held your own with a bunch of boxing experts, but boxing and then beyond boxing, like what makes Stevie Ray tick?
Oh man, I'm the kind of guy that just likes to, I like to try to know as much about as many things as I possibly can. I like to know a little about a lot. So, when I get up and go out in the world on a daily basis, I'm not in the dark. I don't like being in the dark, and I don't like to be outside of my faculties. So, and when I'm into something, I'm really into it. I've always been a big boxing fan, so I like to learn as much about boxing as I possibly can. I like to learn as much about the participants of boxing as much as I can, just like any sport that I'm into, whether it be auto racing, which is probably other than boxing, my favorite sport in the world. And football, basketball somewhat. But those are the things I'm really interested in. When I was a kid, you know, I used to go to the library to learn who would be great in these sports and who's well on the top of the helm in these sports. Even baseball when I was a kid, because I was a big baseball fan. But, you know, at the end of the day, I wanted to know as much about the people that were involved in it as possible, whereas most people today, they get the information from listening to these idiots, you know, like Skip Baylesses of the world tell them about sports, and they really don't know anything about sports other than talking about it. But they can't really get in depth in it like some of the guys that, like a Shannon Sharp who plays football, and it just behooves me like how someone can actually, you know, debate with somebody on something that you never did. And it's behooving to me. But with all that being said, that's today. And my mother, when I was little, used to always say, and I used to tell this to my daughter when she was little, always know your history. Always know your history. Whether it's about your people, whether it's about the things that you're into, whatever, because nothing started today. It started yesterday. And that's pretty much how I like to live my life.
Stevie Ray, that goes very well into our next question. That's a segue and a half for the next question. I'm looking at all these ridiculous questions, these random questions that I could ask. It's a segment we do on most of our interviews where we just pull up either some deep thoughts type stuff or some funny type stuff or whatever. And the one that I was going to ask you next parlays right from where you just left off. What is the meaning of life?
Well, I think the meaning of life is different for everybody. You know, now if you're asking me personally, the meaning of life, it means living it without living your life without any walls. And I think that's what we, you know, that's what's been exhibited so much in today's world. Everybody wants everybody stagnated, and everybody wants everybody to think for other people. You know, what's right for you. It's not necessarily what's right for me. And I think in this country that we live in today, it's kind of hard because everybody's on the borderline of what they think this country should be one way or another. With all that being said, when I get up every day, I look at myself as a very, very free man, and I'm going to live life the way I want to, in my world and in my bubble. And I do not apologize for anything or to anybody about how I feel about it. So I believe in living life to the fullest the way I want to, as long as I'm not bothering anybody or breaking any laws. That's what I'm going to do. That is life for me.
Last week, we had Shane Taylor on the show.
Who? Shane Taylor. Where do I know him from?
Unbelievable talent. You would know him from ROW. He was part of the ROW Wildcat.
Shane. Shane. Yeah, Shane.
Taylor. Yeah.
Who cheated and took the Wildcat heavyweight belt from me.
Yeah.
Who cheated with Ron Simmons, sticking his 2 cents into a match that I had Shane covered. I had this man covered, had him beat. He gets Ron Simmons to come help him win the belt back, and I haven't forgot about it. And people, I'm laying low right now. If Shane is out there listening, I'm just laying low right now because I'm coming back, and I'm going to take the Wildcat heavyweight belt back to Houston like I did before.
Hell yeah, I remember. I believe it. When I got brought on, Wildcat TV was just starting on the My TV affiliate 2-3 years ago. And yeah, and the stuff that they started the lineage with going back in time a year or two was the Wildcat ROW feud. So that's where I got exposed to all of the ROW talent, was watching them, you know, on the Louisiana shows. And man, I could tell from there, from 3 years or 4 years ago, that Shane Taylor was going to be onward and upward to better things.
Well, let me tell you something, man. Shane Taylor is nothing. Shane Taylor is nothing, and I proved it. Shane Taylor never put the asses in the seat. Stevie Ray came down to Wildcat Wrestling, and the place sold out. So he not only I owe him for that, for bringing Ron Simmons into a match. He also owes me for putting some money in his pocket. Bam! What about that?
Well, listen, you can say whatever you want about Shane Taylor. I will say this. We asked him a question on last week's show, and he had a pretty good answer for it, and I'd like to put the same question to you. Would you binary choice, you got to go one way or the other. Would you rather wear shoes every single second for the rest of your life, or never be allowed to wear shoes ever again?
You know what? With all due respect, that's got to be the stupidest question I ever heard in my life. You know, with all due respect, brother. You know,
dude,
I've heard people. You know, I've heard the ones like, who would you like to marry? Who would you like to do this with? Who you like? You know, but this one takes the cake. And that one is beyond any sane man's comprehension. I'm telling you that right now.
It is an official question, isn't it? Though it's a real deal question, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, come on, bro.
Look, they only get better. They only get better from.
Goes back to my perspective of living life. Who the hell is going to tell me what I can do and what I can't do? I don't get options like that, brother. I take what I see. So in essence, whatever I feel like doing, that's what I'm gonna do. So I don't know what Shane Taylor said. Knowing him, he probably said something off the wall, and that's why when I see him, I'm gonna bust that big cranium of his.
No, they only get better from here, though. If you didn't like that question, I do apologize. I gotta know.
No. I did like that question. You know, I did like that. And like I said, you got my legion of fans on Facebook. Look, Mike Wom just said that question was dumb as hell. They're listening to. These are the people I'm trying to get to come over to your podcast and link it up and download. Oh no, you're doing a good job of that stuff. We're not doing it. So you keep up the good work, brother. Go ahead.
To Midland. All right, thank you. This is a good one.
No thanks. I don't need thanks for that. I can get out for.
I ask this one to everybody, and I have a feeling that you're gonna have a stellar answer for this one. I'm sure. You ready?
Probably. Yeah, go ahead.
If cockroaches.
What?
If cockroaches.
Okay.
Can survive nuclear apocalypse.
Right.
And outlast chemical warfare. That's been proven. Can't be a stupid question because all that makes sense. That's logical, right? If that, what the fuck is in a can of Raid?
Well, firstly, let's take this one back in chronological order, okay?
All right.
When did a roach survive a nuclear holocaust? There's never been one.
All time. Twice on Sunday. Always. It's in the book. It's in the book.
In what book?
It's in every book that it would make sense to have it in, and a few that it wouldn't.
Like I said, until we witness that, I'm not going to just take it for granted.
Hey man, Keith Richards, cockroaches, and Twinkies, and Keith.
Wait a minute, man. You ain't got no right to talk about Keith Richards like that. You got no right to talk about Keith Richards like that. Now, a friend of mine just chimed in. He said Agent Orange. My friend Ben Smith. He was in the Army. He was in Vietnam.
I thank him for his service.
Yeah, sure you do. But anyway, going back to what I was just saying, there has never been any kind of nuclear holocaust. Secondly, there has never been any kind of biological mishap that spread over the whole world, and we don't know if roaches will survive it or not. Because as far as I'm concerned, Ray don't even work. What are you talking about?
It kills bugs dead.
Yeah, if you spray it right on them, they'll be back the next day.
But it's chemical. But it says in the books that they can withstand chemical warfare, though. That's the part that I don't understand.
Maybe they're immune to it. Maybe they're from so many millions and millions of years ago. We don't know what happened millions and millions of years ago.
I don't know if I want to keep a can of Raid in the house.
Well, if you call the exterminator man and have him come out like I do once every 3 months, you wouldn't have to worry about a can of Raid.
I heard the exterminator retired and he quit the business 3 years ago.
No, not my exterminator. The man leaves a hell of a residual. You know what that word means, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like
you know, at one time in my life,
usually when I get one, it's however many cents, maybe $1 or $2 on the left side of the decimal, and and it's nice to get one. It's mailbox money, folks. It's mailbox money for those of you on the shoot that don't know.
But the thing, if you lived in Texas, I don't care what you do around Texas. We got roaches that are like 5 inches long.
Well, listen, everything's big in Texas, man. That's in the books. See, I read. That's the thing. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, that's why.
And that's the thing. I don't care what you do. They'll still find a way in your house. And then you find them dead. You go, how did he get in here? You know? But I'm going to ask my followers, what did they think about that question? They'll probably, somebody hit me back here in a minute.
That one's a decent question. You know what I mean? I'll start. I would question your followers if that one doesn't get over because.
Well, Jacob Brooks just said right now.
Right there.
Jacob Brooks just said, these are crazy questions. And Jessica Ortiz just said, no joke.
Yeah, crazy's good. A lot of these people might not.
Mike just chimed in. He said, I'm sorry for not calling you, Stevie. You got jokers on the phone calling you. Yeah.
And clowns to the left of us.
Hey, man, like I said, they're listening to you, brother. I'm just trying to get you more subscribers. Huh?
You know, clowns to the left of us, jokers to the right, and Grant Fletcher just jockeying the needle. Grant Fletcher, the magician. Right, Grant? Say something, dude. Be a professional.
Yeah, Grant, say something.
Grant's under the weather, so he's afraid that he's going to sound like, you know, he just, you know, got broken glass or something.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm here. Yeah, you're right. I'm just getting over the flu, that's all. But I am definitely in the wings.
It's been like 2 weeks since we recorded one with you. Like, couldn't you find a better time to get sick or something?
Yeah, you know, I tried to just reschedule it. I just couldn't do it. You know, just wasn't in the cards this time.
It's your producer?
Yeah, you know, and then all the time it's like, oh, I have a job. Oh, I have a kid.
Now look at this. James,
I caught a cold once or twice a year. Like, what?
James just hit me and said dumbass questions. Marty Wright. You know him?
Yeah.
You know Marty Wright?
Marty Wright, Boogeyman.
Yes. He's listening. He's listening right now.
Oh, what's up, Boogie?
Look,
I
brother,
love him. I ran into him at
don't worry about trying to act, talk to nobody. Just keep doing your interview. Boogie is listening to these questions, and me and him going to have a little conversation afterwards. What's up, Boogie, man? Go ahead. Finish your question.
No, just when they have him up in the office in Stanford and, like, people come out of the elevator on Halloween and, I'm the Boogeyman, and I'm coming to get you. It's just awesome.
The most original gimmick in professional wrestling history.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Either that, Abdullah the Butcher.
Yeah, nobody else could do it just like that. Global had some crazy shit, man. Global had Rasta the Voodoo Man, right?
Yes.
A lot of people don't know, the same way Kane was Bruiser Mastino and PN News was Bruiser Mastino, a lot of people don't know that Kane is Kane and you were Kane, right? Because you guys originally, as the Ebony Experience, I think, right, in Dallas, maybe with Global, you guys were not Booker T and Stevie Ray. You guys were actually, I think, Kane and Cole, right?
No,
when
we were.
You guys Kane and Cole?
Right. No, I thought you said you watched the show when you got home in the afternoon from school.
I did. So when?
Well, then you would have heard Booker T and Stevie Ray.
Well, when were you guys Kane and Cole?
When we first went to WCW.
Oh, is that right?
To this day, I don't know how that came about, but we didn't like the names and we wanted to be our original names. I think it had to do with some contractual type things and some trademark things with Global. And once we got that out the way, then we took our original names back.
That's very cool.
Pretty crazy. But Kane and Cole, nobody, come on, bro. That was the dumbest fucking names I ever heard in my fucking life. But hey, man, I was just trying to get a job. What's up, Brian? But what can you do? It's all right.
Let's talk about your favorite, not my favorite. Let's talk about your favorite conspiracy theory. I don't know if you fancy yourself a conspiracy theorist, but let's talk about the one conspiracy theory or related topic that whenever you tell it to people, depending on who they are, they either think you're genius brilliant or they think you're batshit in hat crazy.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something about conspiracy theories, man. I know that is the term people like to use when they feel like sticking their head into a hole like an ostrich or something like that. But at the end of the day, when you say conspiracy theories, to me, that's just a word people like to use when they don't want to hear what could possibly be. Because I am one to believe in conspiracy fact. Because if you study something long enough and you have the evidence, it's not a conspiracy anymore.
Right.
Evidence don't lie.
True.
If you
now,
do the right.
On the same track, but on a different train. I tell people that all the time with technology, and we're going to get to some tech talk too. But I tell people, not conspiracy, but I tell them with science fiction. I say science fiction, it's been proven more often than not, is only science fiction until enough time goes by and it becomes science fact. Just like you have the communicators in Star Trek 50 years ago, and now you have everybody walking around with a cell phone.
Right. So, I agree with you 100%. But at the end of the day,
but back to conspiracy theories, I mean, what do you think is something that is almost so obvious or so necessary for people?
Okay, I'll give you one. I'll give you one. My number one conspiracy theory will have to be the JFK assassination.
Well, tell me why.
That has been proven 50,000 times, 50,000 books, 50,000 people. This is my thing. If a Warren Commission can investigate something with senators and congressmen and come up with the simple fact that it had to happen this way, then why don't we get senators and congressmen to investigate Biggie and Tupac and tell me what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
Why don't we do that?
No, you're right. Enough hours, enough manpower, enough resources, enough money.
Okay, because
enough technology. You could find anything out, right? I mean, especially going back to the 90s, going back to the 60s is tougher, but for the future, for the next generation, 25 years or so, I mean, think about New York City, for example. Think about London. Every lamppost is a camera.
Right. So I'm just saying, and then we put that in the history book as fact, right? It's in the history book as fact. But if you take people that actually do study, they're not congressmen, they're not senators, they're not ex-CIA leaders, and they study the exact same thing. And what was I told as a kid? Lee Harvey Oswald was a loner, and he was trying to get attention. Okay, you tell me this. If a man is a loner, let's just try to put stuff together here. I'm a loner, but what they don't tell you is when Lee Harvey Oswald was in the military, and he was in the Marines. I was just about to say,
he was in the military and he was married, so I don't know how much of a...
No. He was in the military. He was in the military, and he was a Marine. Do you know what his specialty was?
Tell everybody.
Radar. They never tell you that, right? So if you are such a good shot that you can hit a moving target from I forgot how many feet away, a moving target, a moving target that was going slightly to the left from where you are on the 6th floor building, why wouldn't you in infantry? If you know anything about the military.
Right. No, that makes sense.
Why would, if you can shoot that good at a moving target, would you be a radar operator or would you be in infantry?
No, I understand. I understand completely.
I don't think you do. Because when they train you in the military, they put you where you are best suited. Now, Lee Harvey Oswald was in a top secret military CIA base covering the U-2 airplane in Kazuka, Japan. Did you know that?
Did not.
He had a higher clearance than his boss. Did you know that?
Absolutely not.
Why did they leave that out when they talked about the man? So in essence, and I've been trained to speak fluent Russian.
Yeah, I think it's
not broken Russian.
Yeah,
fluent Russian. Where would he learn fluent Russian?
Right.
So in essence, a lot of people don't know this man had an IQ of between 140 and 160. And that's a man that's a lone killer. That's the conspiracy stuff that I'm talking about. They never talk about the variables that will change your mind. They only talk about the things that'll keep you thinking the way they think.
Do you think that case specifically resonates with you because you were alive at the time? Were you cognizant? You were probably a very little kid, so I don't know if you remember seeing it as it happened, but between the fact geographically that you're down near Louisiana and Texas and that you were alive at the time, do you feel that it resonates strongly with you for that, or just because you see common sense where other people aren't talking about common sense?
No, because one day I've always been interested in the JFK assassination because, as a kid, we've been, taught so many different things about a lot of things. And I'm a history buff. So when I get a hold of something, I have to look at it, I want to get my own personal view of it. I'm just not one of those people that you can just tell anything and I believe it because you know my first name or I know yours. I'm just not. And once I start reading things about so many things, going all the way back to the 17, 18, 1900s of different things that never made sense, but the history books put it this way. So at the end of the day, you realize that history is written by the victor.
Correct.
And there's so many of those things out there. But when it came to this, and then when you start to look behind everything as to what JFK was actually trying to do, as far as changing different things in this country, he had to be stopped, and they stopped him. And like I said, if Lee Harvey Oswald was that big of a good of a shot, you would be in infantry, not working as a radar guy and learning fluent Russian. The man was working in intelligence.
If there was something that people, when it happened in the 60s, couldn't. By the way, listen, man, I went to WrestleMania in Dallas.
Okay.
We were going to we were walking down the street.
Y'all went to Dealey Plaza?
Huh?
Y'all went to Dealey Plaza?
Yeah, we were at Dealey Plaza. That's what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
We went to Dealey Plaza, so I did that, did the whole experience, whatever. I wasn't in a frame of mind to really, I probably took away from it paying for a bus tour less than I did just now from you telling me, because this is how much of a Lulubird I am when it comes to wrestling. On the way to Dealey Plaza, we tried looking for a nice silo, the world famous Sportatorium on South Industrial Boulevard, and when I saw it was just a patch of grass, I started to have a tear form and drop down my face.
Yeah, I think they tore it down a few years ago.
Yeah, it was and that wasn't there. You know what I mean? And that's, for me, conspiracy theory on the one hand, not being able to take a selfie at the Sportatorium on the other hand, so I didn't get much takeaway from my time in Dallas on the Kennedy thing. But you know what? Taking the time aspect out of things, taking the fact that people probably could never handle the truth, whatever it is, in the 60s. But now you're talking about Tupac and Biggie, that's the 90s. And we've been talking about the next 25 years with technology. So my question is, now that it's not the 60s anymore, right? And now that it's been 55 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
My question is, if there's truth out there, the same way they supposedly, they released the Pentagon tapes and the Watergate this, that, and everything gets released, right? Why not at least tell people now, for the sake of clearing it up, now that our population apparently is tough enough, has a hard enough exterior, willing to deal with the truth as long as they get the truth. Allegedly.
What is the thing?
Why can't we know now what really happened?
No government can ever admit to something like that. You know why? Because a change of government happened that day. Because if you admit to that, then you would have to admit to a coup d'etat took place that day. And if that's true, then everything we've been voting for since that day is a lie.
You talking about government is a work? Are we going to have you on when we do a panel of our government is a work panel? Would you be willing to come on for that?
I'm just pretty much going by the experts. If you admit to that, then democracy is really not democracy and freedom is really not freedom. It can't be. Any country that is in on assassinating its own leader, then we're no better than what we've been getting preached to since childhood. You know, the communists, the socialists, the Adolf Hitlers of the world, the Joseph Stalins of the world, the Mao Zedongs of the world, then we're no better than them. But we've been being preached as children that democracy is better than any other form of government in the history of the world. But if that's true, they come out and admit what really happened, then everything we've been voting for and reading and talking about over all these real years is a lie. Who's willing to admit that?
Technologically, what do you think is the one technological breakthrough between the 60s and now? The one thing that you've come across that you personally use that when you were younger wasn't out there? And whether it has to do with going back to the business or whether it has to do with just as a person, irregardless of the business. What is the one technological breakthrough that you think is the most pivotal in your lifetime?
Probably the internet.
Which for sure has changed wrestling.
I think
just to look at it on a micro level, which has for sure has changed wrestling.
Yeah. Probably the internet.
But why do you say that, now expanding macro, right? So the internet has changed wrestling. Not
so much as that. Wrestling is really not professional wrestling anymore, in my eyes.
Oh, now I'm going to go make...
In my eyes, professional wrestling is not the entity that people used to bring home and make them feel good about themselves on a daily basis.
Hold on, my boy Kermit is across the room sipping tea. I got to wave to him. So you're saying wrestling is not professional wrestling anymore?
Not when it comes to the technological changes like you was just mentioning. Now there are too many people exposed to the business. So in essence, the product does not really change anyone's lives anymore.
But doesn't that make them want to devote the hours of their week and some extra of their disposable income, which is what helps keep the business strong? That's me playing devil's advocate.
Well, if you look at professional wrestling 15 years ago, it had over 10 million people that were viewers on a weekly basis. Now it's just a little over 2 million. Explain that to me.
Well, the devil's advocate on that, if that's what you want, is that people don't watch TV anymore the way they used to. It's all digital, it's all streaming, it's all... TV ratings are down across the board is what they'll tell you.
Especially when the product is watered down. Mm-hmm. It ain't just pro wrestling, it's pop culture. Mm-hmm. When I talk about pro wrestling is no different from any other form of pop culture and entertainment when it comes to that entity. So what I'm saying is when you say people don't watch television anymore, well, then they're not watching as much of anything because times change. Everything changes. Everything starts to look the same. Whereas, let's take auto racing. I told you I was a big auto racing fan.
Yep.
All the cars look, you take NASCAR, viewership is down like crazy. You know why? Don't have the heel against the baby face anymore. Have the black car against the white car anymore. Don't have the mean guy against the young guy anymore. They're all young. They all look the same, dress the same, walk the same, talk the same. What does that remind you of?
Is that you wanting me to say today's professional wrestling?
There you go.
Interesting.
There you go.
Now talking about the past a little bit, this is actually a good segue. I very recently became a lifetime member of the Cauliflower Alley Club.
Okay.
I'm going to be going to the Cauliflower Alley Club for the first time when it comes in a month or two this spring. And I'm going to be teaching a seminar with the Blue Meanie on character development.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're going to be teaching some character development?
Yes.
With the Blue Meanie?
Hell no. Why shouldn't we?
Okay, I just had to get this straight. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. But here's the thing. But last year, you guys got the Tag Team Award.
Right.
So as somebody who's been to Cauliflower Alley, tell me what I can expect. I mean, I've heard that it's...
Wait a minute. You telling me you're going to teach a seminar and you ain't never been there?
It's my debut at Cauliflower. It's my first time there.
Now, how did you get this gig, dog? Usually we would rather have somebody kind of experienced doing this.
Dude, first of all, you can't even say that I had to write a real hefty check because it wasn't. No, I'm just. In all honesty, it was. I don't think it's so much matter. I mean, I don't want to take up your precious time, and I don't want to.
Well, don't worry about my time, man. Just tell me what's up.
Well, the reason for it is because I am the quintessential John Muffet.
I'm sorry, dog. I'm sorry. I got to stop you right there. I want to know what you know about talent development or character development or anything like that. Now, what would you have actually learned those things?
Here's why I can't tell you that right now.
Wait a minute.
On YouTube.
Wait a minute. You can't tell me.
Now it's going to be old news by the time I bring it to Cauliflower Alley next month. It's going to be the oldest of news because it's going to have been on my podcast. Now it's going to be on Stevie Ray's YouTube. By the time all that gets pirated and bandicoot, it's going to go around the world 3 times, see everybody twice, shake everybody's hand 4 times.
No, but I'm just curious, dog. That's all. I do seminars myself, okay? Not just wrestling seminars either, okay?
I can't divulge my secrets. Secrets are no fun. Secrets hurt someone. I can't in good faith. People might be paying for this seminar. They might be making a donation.
Okay, man. I get it. I get it. I get it. And I might be, if I'm at the Cauliflower Alley this year, I'm most definitely taking up that seminar. I'm telling you that right now.
Please attend the seminar because if you're there, you could pick up half an hour of the slack from me, and then I would have to not be taking it until. That's not what I'm. Wait, Grant, you'll pull that, right? But hey, honestly, last year you guys
have your stuff together. That's all I'm saying.
I'll try, man. I'm gonna come.
Have your stuff together. That's all.
All cylinders. I'm gonna be cooking with coconut oil. But you guys got Tag Team of the Year last year.
Yes, we did.
Tell me what I can expect at Cauliflower Alley, and I mean we know every people in the business know. In the wrestling fraternity, as they call it, they know what kind of an honor it is to get an award from Cauliflower Alley and who all's in that and whatnot. But have you been there more than the once last year?
No. I know guys that I know have been going for years, man. But that was my first time. Going. I'm gonna be out straight up and honest with you guys. Anything that has anything to do with professional wrestling, as far as the gathering or something like that. You can pretty much 99 times out of 100, I won't be there unless it's got something to do with me. So the last thing I want to do is go hang out with people just because we was in the same business. No disrespect, but that just ain't me, bro.
No, you're right. That's fair enough. But I mean, is it a good time, man? I mean, is it?
Oh, no. It's a great time. It's a great time. Only thing I didn't like about it is they do it in the middle of the week.
It's like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only thing I didn't like about it, man. But I know guys from here that go every year, man. I mean, they big wrestling fans, though. You know what I'm saying? I wrestled. So once I became a wrestler, I stopped being a big fan because it was just work to me. And to this day, I can watch wrestling for a little bit. But I can't watch it for a long period of time unless I'm watching something like New Japan. Now, if I watch New Japan wrestling, I can really get into that. Why? I don't know. Maybe because it's just different.
It's a great show, and they've kind of westernized it. They kind of Anglo, whatever it is, Americanized it, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
A bit. At the end with the press conference, whatever. That's when they get their promo stuff in. So it's formatted differently. But it's a lot. I used to get New Japan like tape disc, like bootleg coming in from Japan. And, I guess they still had that press conference, but I mean, it was a lot. Long story short, it was very wrestling heavy. It was very work rate heavy. And if you love the athleticism, you're the kind of guy who liked Jushin Liger and this one and that one, then you loved it. But now they are pumping a bit more storyline and a bit more characters from around the globe and whatnot. So I see what you're saying for sure.
John just hit a comment. You know what he said? He said, he reminds me of Eric Bischoff.
Oh.
He said,
that is depending on the second, a compliment or not. Depending
is that good or bad? Is that a compliment or is that someone actually disrespecting?
That's like a coin flip, man. That's
hey, Don, hit me back and let me know if that was a compliment or you just really disdain this guy. Let me know that. He'll hit me back in a second. They always do.
Well, there's a little bit of controversy in the podcast. At least I like to somehow see something.
Hey, wait a minute.
And the podcast does create cast. I mean, it must not, or at least I'm told it will, generations and decades and centuries after my death, I'm sure, at least. But, so, if I'm creating controversy and if I'm creating cash, I guess there's certain similarities.
Wait a minute. What's controversial about someone giving their opinion? People say bad things about me and good things about me. Hey, I take the good with the bad. Well, everybody can't like me.
The raid question.
No, everybody don't hate me.
The talking about Kennedy, not so much, because everybody does that. A few times a year, you get a good, what happened with that Kennedy thing? But the raid thing is super controversial, man. How are they going to let people have in their homes? There's the black raid, there's the red. I'm not going to get back into it, but we've talked about Cauliflower Alley. We've talked about going back to when you started in the business, late '80s. And we've talked about, WCW. And we've talked about today. You've talked about today's wrestling and shown a light on that. Then we talked about technology, too. So I'm going to kind of merge a handful of different questions and turn them into one and ask you to predict what do you foresee the future of professional wrestling to be?
I really don't know, man. I really don't know. I tell my daughter grew up around the business, and she's young. She's millennial, 23, 24 years old. And she even tells me that when I was little and I watched you guys wrestle, it was so much fun. And I was like, wow, baby, that makes me feel good coming from you. But the thing is, people are a product of their time, So some people don't know another time. And I think it is what it is. And, hey, man, let's just try to keep the sport alive, regardless what people's opinion is on it. Because wrestling it's a great form of entertainment, especially for young people. And it's really just kind of based for young people now. So let's just try to keep it alive, man, and try to respect it. And there's too many people, I think, that are latching on with their tentacles that's never been in the business, and they're just trying to eat off the business, like when a shark goes by and you see all the little fish attached to him that's never been in the business, but they're trying to, eat off the business, and they give the business a bad name with a bunch of stupid ass, making everything into a mockery now. I don't like that, but, it is, but I do accept it because it is what it is. So I think the business has been exposed too much, and the realism has really been taken out of it because now I have arguments with young guys now. It's like, you guys don't get what you want. You want to jump on Twitter and say what should have happened now, instead of just being a fan, wait for it to happen because every one thing leads to another. So how can you get mad about something because it didn't happen the way you wanted it to happen? Now you got fans that are writing the show now in their mind. Well, we think this guy should have got a push, or we think this guy should have got the title, or it wasn't right when they did this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. Oh, then you got podcasts doing the same thing. How in the fuck can somebody know more about fucking wrestling and they've never been in the fucking business before? How the fuck does that work? That's something I'll never get used to, and every time somebody approaches people,
that's
they don't mind.
Not the fact that people do think they know more, because, we know that. But just trying to think about, but why, what gives them the right, what gives them the audacity, that's something that I don't know. Because, look, I've been a sports director at a radio station, so I've followed other things in pro wrestling. And, I wonder sometimes, you bring it to my attention, baseball, for example. Of course, managers get second guess. Of course, general managers get second guess. But I don't even think with something like baseball, there is that level of fans being so voraciously wrapped up in it, or I don't know how to quite describe it verbally, but I don't know that there's people to the level that in baseball would think that they know more than a coach or a general manager or manager that has been in the game for decades and played it on the field.
Exactly. I don't get it. I just do not get it. And I got into it with a couple of guys that did a podcast before to let them know, you don't know what you're talking about, bro. And especially when you use my name. So some guy named Don Tony or something like that. I was very adamant about it. But you start giving an explanation about something that you heard me say on another podcast, and then you try to analyze it, and you don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about because you're not qualified to know what I'm talking about. You haven't been on this earth long enough to know what I'm talking about. So you just start telling people bullshit, and I had to call them out on it. So that's one of the parts that I just don't get, and everybody trying to piggyback off professional wrestling, and they really don't know what the hell. Come on, man, have a little bit better decorum for what these guys do for a living. It ain't romper room. It's serious business. It might look like playtime, but it ain't playtime. It might look like they're just doing a little dance, but they ain't doing a little dance. Serious business. Cat told me the other day, I don't remember what he was talking about when it came to the show. Oh, he told me that Brock Lesnar can get away with anything he wants. And I'm like, based on what? How would you know that? You ain't never met him. If you did, it was when he was signing an autograph. You ain't never been in the back of a dressing room. You honestly think Vince McMahon got to where he is today by letting Brock Lesnar get away with anything he wants? Whatever Brock gets away with, he's got it in his contract. That's how it works. If I don't want to do something, if it's not in my contract, you're obligated to do it. Whatever I tell you to do. If it is in your contract, I'm not going to touch it. It don't work like you don't have a carte blanche like we wrestling in the backyard or at some fucking high school somewhere. It don't work like that. But in some people's mind, it does.
No, true enough.
The dumbest shit I ever heard in my life.
So Stevie Ray, I know you're live on your YouTube, right?
Yeah, I'm live.
See, now people are getting to see how the sausage is made, right? That's YouTube versus a podcast, right?
Well, no, I do this a lot with my, I do this a lot with my followers, and a lot of times I do little shows for them. A lot of times I might show them me, working out in the gym. A lot of times, I might show them, if I'm at an event or something like that, and I'll go live on YouTube. I do it a lot just to let people see what I'm doing. And a lot of people know that I'm getting ready to bring my podcast back, so I'm just getting them prepped for, what some of the things that I'm going to be doing on the podcast and letting them see me. And a lot of, and like we talked about earlier this week. So I've been doing it a lot until we get everything together.
TV tapings back in the day used to be great to see how the magic was made. I remember one time I was at one of the TVs up here, like Poughkeepsie or White Plains, and it was Superstars. It was like the early 90s, mid-90s, like 92, 93, something like that. Lex, Yoko, Ludwig Borga, and who was it? Was it Typhoon? Or there was one guy, and Howard Finkel introduced him from wherever, weighing in at 200 blah 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 pounds, and it was the wrong weight. So they're in there, they wrestle the match, gone.
Oh, God.
Next match comes out, one more match happens. That match is done. Curtain. Now, booming through the arena, even though you don't see Finkel in the middle of the ring.
Okay.
From blah, 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 weighing in at 357 pounds. He doesn't come out. Boom, into the next match. And stuff like that helped me want to get into the business because it was magical. You know what I mean? So you get to see a little bit with editing how the magic is.
Hey, Ernest Miller is just chimed in. You want to say something to him?
What's up, Big Cat?
Big Cat. Yeah, that's right. He bought 270 now, so he is a big cat.
I couldn't wait. I met him at a Wildcat show that was WrestleMania weekend. He seems like a real good guy. I'd love to have him on a podcast too, but man, I was hoping for sure that the him and Glacier stuff, all that kind of Mortal Kombat video gamey stuff, I kind of hope that would take off, because if you're going to do it, do it. And of course, I'm always rooting for the business to succeed. So, you know, I was always hopeful for him. And then when they spun it in a different direction and he became more comedic, I was thrilled to see that he was so versatile because that stuff was great, man.
Well, see, that's the thing, man. Entertainment. The entertainment side of the business was at an all-time high then. An all-time high. You remember back in the I would say a generation before ours, you only had certain guys that could entertain. And now, in our era, everybody was a great entertainer. Ernest Miller was a great entertainer. I remember my daughter telling me, I didn't even know this. I was home for a few days, and she said, "Daddy, did you see the cat come in the ring dancing?" And I'm like, "What?" She said, "Yeah, he came in the ring dancing." Then next thing I know, he was coming in the ring dancing like James Brown. I just thought that was hilarious, man. But that was funny, man. Got to be able to make people laugh, man. Got to be able to make people laugh. That's the thing about wrestling. It will send you through so many different emotions in one night. In one night, you go through the gambit of emotions. That's what made people keep coming back, the emotion.
What's your favorite place that you visited that wrestling has taken you? And then if you've got another place on the globe, which wasn't somewhere that you went for wrestling, but somewhere that you went outside of it, but tell us about one or two of your favorite destinations, like your favorite towns that are not your hometown.
My favorite towns probably be Orlando, L.A., well, you know, we was in Atlanta a whole lot. That was like my second home. Hated New York.
We get that a lot.
Hated it, man.
A lot of us that live here can't wait to get out.
Yeah. You know, I also like going to Philly. Philly was nice. Chicago was nice. Yeah, that's about, you know, the thing is, man, once you start traveling the country, you know, a lot of stuff start looking the same, you know? So, you know, like in Miami, I used to love going to Miami. Oh my God, you know, so, you know, we had our favorites. But some of the towns just start to look the same after a while, like, you know, especially a lot of towns in the South, you know, and a lot of the towns in the Midwest, you know.
It doesn't help that when you're there for business is that all you're seeing is the hotel, the airport, and the arena a lot of times.
But sometimes, you know, not so much as that, because a lot of times you get in a day early, you know, depending on where you are. Now, but, you know, those were some of the towns we went to where, you know, we got out and, you know, we got out and did stuff, you know. We got out and did stuff. Wanted to see some of the historic places and things of that nature. So Canada was always nice too, going into Canada and visiting some of the cities up there. So that was, as far as countries, Australia was nice. I always liked Australia. I think Europe in itself, you know, Great Britain, I never was a big fan of Great Britain. I don't know why. But Japan, you know, I bought my daughter her first Godzilla, remote control Godzilla, in Japan. So that was interesting, walking around downtown Tokyo, and nobody could tell me where I could go find a remote control Godzilla, because I was saying it the wrong way. So, they don't call him Godzilla, right? In Japan, you know. I wish I had a tape of that, man. Although I spent the whole day looking for a toy store, you know, a department store that sold toys, you know. Well, you know, here in the States you go to mall. Well, in Japan, a mall could be one building. You know what I'm saying? Wow. And it's 10 stories high. You know what I'm saying? So in every floor got different stores on it, you know? So finally, after, you know, not knowing my way around town and trying to catch buses and stuff, different places. But I did it, though, and I brought it home, man. I said, you probably got the only remote control Godzilla doll in the United States of America. I don't even know how I got it back through customs. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know.
Nice.
But I was on a entertainment visa, so that's probably why I got through, you know?
That makes sense. Sense. One last thing, man. Food. Even going back to volume 1 of our podcast like 2-3 years ago, this would be how we end a lot of interviews is food-wise, man, the one meal that resonates, and if it's something you cook, then let us know what it is, your favorite thing that you cook, that when you make it, it's your recipe, it's unique, and people say, I've never had it like this. And then also, again, when you're out on the road or if you're going out in town to a restaurant, your one favorite thing maybe that people who go out with you quite a bit, they know that categorically this is a Stevie Ray, the calling card, the go-to.
When I'm out, my meal is grilled catfish. I love grilled catfish. And depending on where I'm at, if they got it, I'm getting it. Now, as far as the home cooked meal, it's like smothered ground beef, collard greens, rice and gravy with some black-eyed peas. That's it for me, brother. That's the deal right there.
Can't find that stuff here in Brooklyn. If you do, it's a sad imitation. Make a big plate. I'll be over shortly.
Hey, let me ask you something, guys. Since you guys are from, you guys reside in New York. How do people in New York?
Like in Baton Rouge, and I'm up here in Brooklyn.
Okay. How do people in New York feel about 9/11?
Oh.
Are they still in shock when they hear the 3 letters, 911?
Man, I just live here. I was 10 full miles away when that happened. And unfortunately, I did have a friend in one of the 2 towers, and his office was 1 floor either up or down from point of impact in that tower, so we lost him that day. But you know what? The same way, I think you have a better handle on Kennedy than I have on 9/11, 18 years later. I don't know, man. I mean, but you know, likewise, there's that common sense that we were talking about. Like they say they found, you know, not to say to pin it on Saudi Arabia, right? But like if we're calling it, you know, all else being equal, like they said they found on the ground, come from the planes or whatever, like burnt up, almost completely charred Saudi passports. But you could tell that they were Saudi passports. I don't know, man. Look, different things burn at different angles, at this, that, and the other. But long story short, to convince me that those planes and the fire could go through metal to have everything come down in its own footprint, but they're not going to completely burn up the paper or whatever that passports are made of. I don't know. Stuff like that gets kind of dicey.
So you're saying
the order of the buildings and whatnot.
And that's what you're saying. Jet fuel. That's what they said, right? Jet fuel?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Jet fuel, which is, you know what jet fuel is, right?
I don't want to know what that's probably what's in a can of Raid.
No.
To come back full circle, you know what I mean?
No, jet fuel.
Let me tell you something, Houston. I do not know. I don't want to know jet fuel, can of Raid. I'd like to live as uneventful.
No. At the end of the day, jet fuel is only kerosene, man.
Okay.
You know, you got to realize that the airplanes use kerosene because it burns slow, and the flash rate is not very high because if you're in an airplane and you're flying with jet, burning something that can't be super toxic and explode. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's in the air.
You're intimidatingly intelligent right now. You understand what I'm saying? You're intimidatingly intelligent right now.
So I'm just telling you the real truth. My buddy, when I was growing up, his dad worked at the airport here. And that's all it is, kerosene. Kerosene can barely burn paper. But turn concrete to dust. So it is what it is. I just wanted to know that, bro. That's all.
Stevie Ray, we're at 69 minutes. You know what that means?
What? Oh, we are? I don't have my watch.
You know what that
man.
means? That means you have made my job so much easier this week. I can take half a week off from recording. Not to sound like Kenny Omega, but what it means is This show is indeed.
Kenny Omega, that's my man, dog. I love watching that guy work, man. That Kenny Omega, I would pay money to see that guy.
He's got it. He's got it A to Z.
He got it, bro. I mean, oh my God, bro. I really enjoy watching him, man. As you can hear in my voice, man.
But the 69-minute eargasm, we try to keep it no less, no more, right around 69 minutes. We usually do that with two different guests, about 35 minutes apiece. But because, as I surmise, that you would be one of the greatest guests in the history of the show so far, you are going to get next week when we release
what's
your
the name?
entirely very own episode.
What is the name of you guys' show? I got to tell my viewers.
Yes, sir. We are the 69-minute eargasm.
Hey, guys, I want everybody to go out and listen to these guys, man. You know, the name of their show is the 69-minute eargasm.
That's right. You can find us.
69-minute eargasm. And, hey, man, they some good guys. I don't know if it's 2 or 3 of them. I heard about 4 or 5 voices in the background. But I'm just letting you guys know.
Oh, you know who you didn't hear? Oh, wait, we got to take a call. Hold on. Let me call him. Yeah. Sal, you around? Yeah, who's this? Sal, it's Phil. Remember I told you with the podcast that I could have you on? We were going to do a caller segment finally. Would you want to talk with Stevie Ray? Let me tell you something. There was these kids outside before. I told them, come right here again and I'll test your jaw, you fucking mutt. I'll rock you on that stack of dimes you call a neck.
Oh, okay.
So I'll ask Stevie Ray just one last thing. Go ahead and promote your social media.
Go ahead and promote my social media? Okay, you can reach me at Stevie Ray.
Thank you, Sal. Thank
Sal, hang up.
And the composer and
hang up while you still can.
Great first call, Sal. Yeah, we love it. Thanks for nothing.
Hang up while you still can.
I guess so. I was going to actually ask you the same thing. I don't know if that's kind of a coincidence. It's kind of
he beat you to it. But hey, man.
Tell us a little bit about where we can find you all over social media.
Hey, they can reach out to me on Twitter. They can reach out to me on Facebook, Stevie Ray 911. I'm sorry. On Instagram, Stevie Ray 911. And you can reach me at Stevie Ray Athlete on Facebook, like what we're on right now. And, hey, man, we're going to be making it happen, man. And, hey, I'm going to have to get you on my podcast. And we're going to really raise some hell.
Ooh.
Hey, man, we're going to really raise hell because my podcast, the moniker is the world's most controversial podcast. You see what we were just talking about with 9/11? You see what we were just talking about with JFK? It's going to be all over my podcast, and it's going to be.
I'm going to have to Boy Scout be ready because I know you're going to be prepared.
Oh no! I'm just saying those are some of the subjects. I'm not saying those are some of the subjects you and I were talking about. But I'm just saying those are some of the subjects we're going to talk about. I want to have specialists to come on the show and talk about some of these things. Some of the people that have actually studied JFK, some of the people that have actually studied Martin Luther King, Robert F. Kennedy, Malcolm X, even some of the other presidents, and that were a long lineage of guys that that have question marks behind their name, like Abraham Lincoln, like Roosevelt. There are very, very sketchy things that happen behind, the Bush family. What about those guys? The Bush family that's been around forever. On top, like we say in the business. On top.
Right.
So.
I can't wait to hear all of the episodes. And I'm honored that you asked me to be on. I love that invite. I can't wait. Let me know anytime.
Well, by the time you get back from cauliflower, I'm going to be up and rolling, brother, and I need to know. Suckers got to know. You dig?
I heard you. Stevie Ray, thank you.
Yeah, Ernest Miller just put on here, and like OJ. Oh, yeah, I'm definitely Ernest. Oh, yeah, Ernest said something else to you, too, earlier. He said, stop kissing ass. But yeah, I want to talk about the O.J. Simpson conspiracy. Oh, brother, we're going to chop it up, dog. It's going to be on.
It sounds like it. It's going to be on like neck bone, I would imagine, right?
On like a steaming by the neck bone, baby.
With you and me, it's going to be on like neck bone and neck braces, because that's my deal. Stevie Ray, thank you so much, dude. I really do appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, guys. No problem.
And we will be back with more 69-minute eargasm after this.
Misled, said I would understand. Misled.
So then, anyway, we interrupt this Grapplex commercial to bring you updated information from Grapplex. Hi, I'm Ray Dacron and not Joel Gertner pretending to be me to save money. You might know my stepsister Polly and my sister Esther. You might have seen Polly and Esther together. Ever since they first picked up the scissors, Grapplex has been our passion. Now it's news about the Raw Red, our first ever release intended for human beings with what's considered medically standard skin. It is soon to be available for consumption and purchase from the kind folks at the 69-minute orgasm and then the actual world in lots of real places that prove you can have nice things. And also by Grapplex is important, bullet point, a red underline, bold italics, as if you mean it. And it's a space-age polymer of cotton ripped from the finest hotels' cotton swabs, and just to make you feel like you're in bed under the covers with the air conditioner on like 66 all day. So it won't shed or self-destruct or disintegrate at all. That means it's down to get the friction on and certified DFT, that feel though. We'd also like to thank Jim over at Jamoke NYC in their corporate headquarters 100 or so miles away only from Midtown for his help with the copy for this ad. We now return you to Real Housewives, the 69-minute orgasm already causing carnal convulsions. And thank you. And buy the shirt after you can find it. So look for it. Thank you.
Bye.